Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Think Factory podcast. I'm your host, Chris Santamassimo from OGC Solutions, and I'm here with my friend from Quadient. His name is Kevin McPherson, and he's the Senior Client Executive. So welcome to the podcast, Kevin.
Thanks, Chris. Look forward to the discussion.
Yeah, for sure. You're really at the bleeding edge, I guess you might say, of software in the print market. And, basically that I don't think anybody can argue how important software and the proper software for a given business is to their operations in terms of, how they manage not only the print, but also the omni-channel communications. So I'd love to hear and have you introduce Quadient to the folks that may not know it or haven't been in contact with you. And kind of focusing on the central role that software plays for your customers. So take it away.
Yeah, sure. So let me start with the Quadient side. So there's really three parts to Quadient. There's what we call mail, so postage meters, inserters, etc. We've also got a lockers business, which does all of retail, buy online, pick up in locker. So if you go to a Lowe's, that type of operation, or residential, apartment buildings, etc. And then the third part, which is really where I sit, is our digital business. So that's all our software that does personalized communications, that does accounts payable, accounts receivable solutions, a lot of the software to enable the process. So I've worked in software basically all my life. I grew up as a software programmer, went into product management, product marketing, and then ultimately finished in a sales role. So from a software perspective, what we do is enable the customer to do design, data, business rules, and templates. So whatever data they throw at us, we can create those personalized communications, those personalized experiences, taking the data, the business rules, and the design together to enable the communication. Because honestly, if it's not targeted to an individual, it's not specific to their interests, they're not going to take action. And ultimately, you're sending them communications because you want them to do something, or you want them to be aware of something. So if it's not relevant to them, it's not going to get used, in which case you're wasting your money. But if you can drive that action, you can make it relevant to them. So I've worked in digital printing basically all my life, starting with Xerox, doing digital printing back in the 90s. So
really at the cutting edge of it at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So done both transactional communications and direct marketing. From a Quadient perspective, we have our Inspire set of products that enable us to do anything inside of both direct marketing and transactional communications. So spanning the gamut of printing and communications, and then also going to the digital side. So you can sit inside of our designer product and create communications that are going to print, to email, to SMS, to WhatsApp, whatever your design channel you need. You can do that within our product.
So really, let's break it down a little bit. This is really an end-to-end solution for either direct marketing mailers or transactional mailers that can use the product not only to manage the operation, but to really be efficient and targeted, especially when it comes to direct mail. And I think that was your point about value. The days of just sending communications out, to homeowners without even a name, just targeting a zip code is really not what's in vogue anymore, just given the expense and also the availability of the technology to be much more targeted.
Yeah, exactly. And with costs continuing to go up in terms of postage, etc., there's a lot of focus on getting the ROI. Print has a great ROI. If you can do it right and you can manage the process. So it enables you to, one, get the content right and manage it scalably, and manage the workflow all the way down to the digital press that ultimately is going to produce the material, or, the email server that's going to deliver the content out to the recipient.
It's about the repetitive process, I think, to get recipients, focused on whatever the product offering is or the service offering that the client is trying to advertise. So tell me a little bit about how Quadient, creates that effective repetition with the omni-channel ways that you can communicate.
Yeah, so it really does come down to scale, Chris, as you said. It's about, how do you manage the data that's coming in at volume? How do you manage the template and how it's going to flow based on different content rules that you want within there? So that you can make it specific, whether it's just, simply providing different imagery to it. In terms of the application sets we cover, it is direct marketing and it's transactional, but it's everything in between. So, we have customers doing all sorts of different application sets to manage those processes. But, ultimately, if you're doing onesie, twosie communications, you don't need something like Quadient Inspire. But it's really at that medium to large size enterprise. Service providers, outsourcing companies use us heavily, because we can enable them to design communications fast, quickly turn them around and manage the process out efficiently. So it is really that end-to-end process to look at to say, how can we make this better? How can we improve the process? Even down to doing imposition inside of our software so that it's set up for the digital press to be able to produce efficiently.
And are you seeing more and more of your customers become content creators and not just taking content from customers and basically putting it in the mail using the mailing list? It seems like more and more the printers are creating as much content as they receive, or maybe even more so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of our product is what we call Inspire Content Manager. And that enables them to manage all of the imagery, all of the associated resources that are required for it, whether it's fonts, forms, logos, etc., and manage that process efficiently, being able to take that imagery from Adobe InDesign to take that in, and be able to manage it, and have one source of truth. So often, you'd find in other operations, you're not sure whether you've got the right logo, or how many templates is that embedded into? How do I manage changes to it? If I've got a signature change, what does that involve? How many and how quickly can I make those changes? And if I've got a mistake inside of there, how can I roll it back? And how can I manage that process? So making sure there's that closed loop so you know what's used where, and if you need to make changes, you've got confidence that the changes are being made the way you want to and that you've not missed anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's important, especially when you start to put a job on press. All of a sudden, you've incurred a lot of expense. So if you can solve the problems with the software before we talk about getting to the finished product, obviously, that's a huge cost savings.
Yeah, exactly. And, the software is obviously the key, understanding the power of it. So, we put a lot of focus as well on making sure our customers are set up for success, whether that is training programs, self-study, whether it's accessing our university resource for how-to and hints and, different tips and tricks. There's a university site that they can go to. They can do all the software downloads from there. It's a great sort of one-stop shop to be able to sort of self-serve and understand the power of the technology. And then obviously our support is great. So, being able to call in with either a how-to question or this isn't working the way I expected it to. Is this actually the way it should be working, etc. And break fix.
What's your keys to the success of using the software? Obviously, you need to be able to be proficient in it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've got a great community as well of customers. I mean, we've been in business now for about 25 years with the Quadient Inspire product. And you'll find going on to university, customers will help out other customers. They'll put a question in and say, well, how do I do this? Or I'm having trouble with this. Our engineers will often answer some of those questions, but often you've got customers coming in and saying, well, this is what I did to solve this. This is how I did it. And these were the efficiencies that I gained.
Artificial intelligence and machine learning is on the tip of everyone's tongue, almost in the same sentence as software, when they talk about resources. What has Quadient done in that respect? And, how does AI and the ability to use AI to do content creation, how does that factor into the use of Quadient's Aspire product?
Yeah, we've actually been doing a lot of work in that area, Chris. So where we have some machine learning pieces already rolled out into our product. So it will enable you as you're creating the content to either do things like grammar check, to be able to say, well, this is written at a grade 7, grade 8 level. If you're really targeting grade 6, this is really where you should be. So there's a lot of different elements to it. Some of that's already rolled out into our SaaS product, and more is coming into the rest of Inspire Flex. We've been using natural language processing for a number of years. Some of that is within our migration tools from other technologies into Inspire. It will go through the documents and then pull out the data, the variables, as well as the templates. So it will go through and find where that common content is. We've had instances where it goes through, let's say, a set of insurance policies, and it will go through and say, well, here are the common elements to it, which is then part of that template. We've even had instances where it will say, you are insured, and another piece will say, you are not insured. Well, it's actually meant to be, you are not insured. And for years, there's been a typo in one of the templates that says you are insured. And, partly it's what I call creeping elegance. Somebody takes a template, makes a slight modification to it, and you finish up with, 10 templates, which is essentially one template. But, they've just got different business rules associated with it, maybe, and they've just taken a template and they've changed it. And somebody didn't realize that template was still being used. Right.
Yeah, that's a pretty common problem, I think, when we deal with clients, especially in the contract area, where a contract just sort of snowballs over time into whatever document they use, and not realizing that you have that creeping, what did you call it? Creeping elegance.
Creeping elegance.
Yeah. I might say it's creeping inelegance, sometimes, but here, I guess, that's how we view it, because, just to your point, it just has errors, because people's eyes just don't see, they don't see the problems in a document that they work with all the time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how many times have you read a document and you completely missed a typo because you inserted the word in your mind that you knew was there, but it actually wasn't there? Machines don't have that problem. So, machines will find the differences. Humans often don't. You hallucinate what you think is there because it should be.
Exactly. Yeah. Your mind does do the correction, but you don't realize that the problem is there for sure. But are you seeing, or do you feel like Quadient has got more things that it can do when it comes to AI as it continues to learn and grow?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot we can do, and we are doing in terms of the content management side of it, the authoring side of it. A lot of honestly, AI is about content and content management, and that's the core to what we're doing. Some as well as the confidence in the authored source. So being able to have confidence in there that it's accurate. One of the challenges, certainly from a PR perspective with AI, is the hallucination and the trusted source element to it. Making sure that you've got a approval workflow. So within our software, there's an approval process to it that enables you to make sure that what you're creating has gone through the right approval steps. Does legal need to look at this? Does marketing need to look at this? What's the client sign off process to it? So, the AI can come in on the front end content side, but ultimately somebody is then going to say, yes, I approve of that content, that template, those business rules, and how that's managed. That ultimately comes down to people doing some of that with machines assisting, and the AI. So the AI is going to tell you, well, yes, this is exactly what we see inside of there, and the changes that are being made. But, it's still a little bit of people element to it as well that does some of that sign off.
Yeah, but the nice thing is you're able to have a process, and I think a repeatable process is not only important for security, but also for efficiency at the end of the day. If you know that the business rules are going to be followed the same way every time with some modifications depending on the customer, of course, but you've got a process that you can rely on that's going to get you success more often than not.
Right. And ultimately, change happens. And generally they're frequent changes. Having a process that you can rely on and where all of the elements are. If a state regulation changes, you need to change either some of the verbiage or even how it's put together and some of the business rules associated with it. You've got one source of truth that you can go to and manage that process. You can put it into a dev and a UAT system and then promote it up into production.
It's pretty amazing. I'm just so enamored by what I see in the software side because I think it's so central to the success of the industry. Just to handle the volume that some printers see. Just the volume to me. I've been in direct mail and transactional print houses many times, and it's amazing to watch the volume and the speed of the machines. And the only way you do that well is with effective software, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because you got to keep the machines busy. You got to keep the operations busy, and feeding the beast is a big part of it. Getting the work into it. I've seen sometimes challenges with being able to merge all of that data and the business rules, etc. Well, now you've got a bottleneck and you're waiting on the print device, or what you feed down to the print device is so heavy that the print device can't process it efficiently. I remember back in my Xerox days, when we'd launched the iGen, and we were doing direct marketing, primarily publishing type work on it. And we put one of the first applications on it with transactional communications. Well, now you've moved from a process that was print many off one master to, well, now every page is unique. Well, we were running the iGen at 10 pages a minute, and, it was a 100-page a minute device. Well, what do? You don't sell them 10 more devices. You have to speed up the process on the front end so you can actually manage it through. So we did that with a lot of the available data so that then the printer could actually process at rated speed at 100 pages a minute at that time.
Right.
And it's looking at the end-to-end process.
Indeed. Well, this is really impressive, Kevin, and just a pleasure to be able to learn what's under the hood, so to speak, with Quadient. Appreciate you sharing. And I'd love for you to share where some folks might meet you, maybe at upcoming shows, as well as where they can find some more information online or reach you.
Well, you can always find us at Quadient.com. If you look for CCM or CXM or Inspire, you'll find us on there. We're at a number of shows coming up with Explore in Orlando, with Printing United in Vegas. So number of different shows. Happy to have a conversation if you'd like to reach out to me directly as well. Certainly can do that. We're always looking for different and unique solutions that we can apply our technology to. I like to say that, the great thing about software is it can do anything. The challenge is what exactly is it you want it to do and what are the requirements? And now let's see how we can map the solution into doing what you do. But if you're interested in personalized communications, and everybody is, because everybody is a consumer, wants to be treated as an individual that's specific to what they're looking for and their needs. That's our marketplace, and we'd love to help you.
Fantastic. Well, Kevin, thank you so much. And I think you summed it up in a great way when you called the software package a solution, because that's really what it is. It's a bridge to from a problem or a work task to a final product. So great way to sum it up. So thanks, Kevin McPherson. Thanks so much again for joining us today on the Think Factory podcast.
I appreciate it, Chris, and we'll see you soon at Expo Printing United, somewhere near you.
We will be there for sure. So again, this is Chris Santomassimo from OGC Solutions that powers the Think Factory podcast, and we'll see you next time.